Hello and welcome back to Overbooked. I'm Amanda and today we're going to be doing a book review on the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle. So I read this book because, well, I've wanted to read it. It's been on my want to read list for a while and I checked it out from the library on Libby and I was on a crazy long hold list, yada yada yada. But it also met a requirement for the Reading Women Challenge for 2021, which is a cover designed by a woman. So the cover of Untamed, which I'll put here or here, who knows, is designed by a woman. I actually really enjoy this cover. I think it's fun. I think it's eye-catching and really interesting and just really pretty. I don't know, just pretty. So Untamed by Glennon Doyle is like her memoir, her self-help book about Glennon Doyle's life since she came out and divorced from her husband and married soccer star Abby, what's her last name? Abby Wambach. Her life following that and kind of like leading up to that, I guess. So I actually really have mixed feelings about the book. I didn't super enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I didn't really get a lot out of it that I thought I would. Yeah. So I think one of the things that kind of made me not weird, but a bit uneasy or unsure about the book was I didn't know what it was trying to be, like a self-help, like motivating book or a memoir. It was like, I felt like it was either doing too much of one or it was like, it was working too hard to be both, where I didn't think it really mashed up well together, if that makes sense. Where like, I felt like I enjoyed hearing about these little stories about Glennon Doyle's life that she would be telling, but then it would turn into this like, this is how you do it, and to make it amazing for your life, and don't just sit there and do nothing, or just like this whole like, you know, self-help like Pinterest quote shit. And it was just like, I think if the whole book would have been one or the other, it would have been fine, but it was just kind of weird, the mix of it, I guess. So like I said, I really enjoyed hearing some of the stories about Glennon Doyle's life, which I thought this whole book was going to be about. I thought it was going to be like a memoir of her life. I guess I didn't really realize that Glennon Doyle is an author before. Like I didn't know this wasn't her first book. So that was kind of interesting to hear. But I thought the book was going to take us through like her childhood and then her like, you know, marriage and divorce and then, you know, marriage to Abby Wambach and her life there. And it kind of did that in a sense, but not as much as I wanted it to, as much as I thought a memoir would. So that was just kind of a bummer. I thought that, so what like Glennon Doyle does is she'll tell us like little stories, but they're not in like any certain kind of timetable. They kind of jump around. So she'll tell us a story from like her childhood, and then she'll tell us a story from like when she was married to her husband. She'll tell us a story from high school, and then she'll tell us a story of like right now, like, and then it's kind of like a mix. So I would have really rather seen a chronological order of stories other than this whole kind of mix kind of situation. I was really into the book for like the first like third of it. Like I was kind of getting behind it. I enjoyed listening to her stories. I enjoyed listening to the advice that she gave connected to the stories. But about like after a third or halfway through the book, I just kind of was over it. I think you can only hear the same kind of advice and stuff like rewritten so many times, and then you just kind of don't really care anymore. So that's kind of how I felt about it. I just felt like she was repackaging the same message over and over again. I enjoyed the stories I really enjoyed and really appreciated were like her stories where she talked about her reckoning with kind of being a mother and a person. I feel like there's just a lot of assumption with women that once you become a mother, you kind of like lose yourself. And she was talking about how like she didn't want to sacrifice herself for her children. She wanted to go and like be herself and go do things for her children because she wanted to be somebody that her children could like look to and admire and have a role model for, to know that they could do those things because, hey, my mom did those things. And so I really appreciated that part of it because you know, I'm not a mom right now, but I want to be someday. But I also am very worried about like losing that sense of self and losing that ambition. And, you know, Glennon Doyle, I think, did a really good job about talking about how you shouldn't have to lose that ambition because you fuel that ambition even more for your children. So I just really, really enjoyed that kind of aspect of it, just because I think it's really great advice for those of us who are either mothers right now or want to be mothers and want to know how to like handle balancing everything when that time comes. Otherwise, some of the advice that she gave was just kind of like hypocritical, or very like, not hypocritical, but like, I don't know, like she'd give one advice, but then she'd turn around and give other advice that didn't really match. And so it didn't really make sense or add up. I also really wish that, so Glennon Doyle used to be an alcoholic. She has been very depressed, leaned heavily on, you know, alcohol, and I think maybe drugs. I'm not quite sure on the drug part, but like to get through the day, and suffer from bulimia. And I really wanted to know how she got to that point. I wanted to know her struggle of, you know, becoming an alcoholic, recovering from alcoholism, becoming bulimic and recovering from bulimia, but we didn't ever get that part. And I never figured out what started those issues, what stemmed from that to like cause all of these things for her. And this is going to sound extremely harsh, but it just sounded like this white woman complaining about really nothing and having these issues for no reason. And I'm not saying that you can't be an alcoholic for no reason. It's just, I really would have liked some kind of explanation, because that's kind of what it sounded like. It was just kind of like, you know, I had this family and now I'm an alcoholic. I just didn't really understand or grasp the situation that led her to that path. And I kind of didn't really understand her path out of it either. She kind of talks about how like when she's pregnant with her first child, she decides then and there that she's not, like she's going to get better for herself and for her child, which is amazing and obviously honorable, and you know, that's great. But like, how did you dig yourself out of that hole? Like, I know, like, you know, you're pregnant and you're having this baby, but was that like just enough? Was that enough fuel power to get you through overcoming your addiction? Like, it just kind of seemed like we weren't getting the full story, which in the book, she talks about how she prides herself on telling her fans, her readers, the whole truth. And that's what she's known for, is, you know, not keeping lies and secrets from people. Like, she talks about how when she was going on a book tour, she was like, okay, do I just keep, you know, this relationship with Abby a secret, or do I just go out and tell people on this book tour? And she was like, well, that's not what I do. I tell people the truth. And she told people on the book tour. So that's what was like confusing to me. It was like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, she should have told us everything. But in the book, she was like, I'd like to tell people everything and be transparent. So it was just kind of a weird mix of points of view, I think. I mean, I didn't super enjoy listening to her writing. I mean, so I listened to the audiobook. She actually narrates the audiobook, which, again, I didn't really super enjoy. It kind of sounded like she was my kindergarten teacher, and she was reading me a book at story time. That's kind of what I got from it, and I just was like, I think there's a lot of heavy issues that you're talking about right now, and I really wish that you were talking about it in a more serious tone. But I was reading some reviews, and I think a lot of people enjoyed hearing her narrate the book, so that might just be my own thing. So, but I don't know. I wasn't as into it as I thought it was going to be. I thought that it was going to be this like really, really amazing memoir, and I think it's good for what it is. I got some stuff out of it. I got some helpful points of view. I got some perspective that I wouldn't have had before, but a lot of it I think was just like, I've heard it all before. Will hear it again from somebody else. And it wasn't like a revelation or a really like, when I read like a memoir or something like this, like self-help, I like getting new pieces of information to really think about. And I didn't really get anything like that in this book, where I was like, oh, I kind of really want to take the time to reflect on what was just said and like what I just read. And I didn't really get that from this book. So, I mean, overall, I rated it like 3 stars. But I think that, I don't know, this might be too far, but it very much reminded me of a Rachel Hollis book. And I don't enjoy Rachel Hollis. And, but if you enjoy that kind of book, I think you would really enjoy this book. And I would encourage you to pick it up. Otherwise, I think it's it was a fun-ish book to read. Like, it was something easy to listen to while I went for my walks or cleaned around my apartment. So there's that. But I know a lot of people love this book. I know there's a lot of people who enjoyed it. So, you know, don't take just my perspective into consideration if you're trying to figure out if you want to pick this book up or not. So there's that. So that was my review on Untamed by Glennon Doyle. In the comments below, please let me know if you read this and if you had the opposite opinion of me, because I did feel kind of very weird feeling this way while I read it, because I know there's been such acclaim from celebrities and everyone that's read this book. So please let me know your thoughts and feelings on the book if you've read it below, or if you're planning on reading it. I'd love to hear it. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.